Hi everybody, it's John back again with another review. This time it's on the Italeri Saab JAS 39A Gripen in 1/72 scale. This kit is an interesting, it has a lot of interesting history and there's a lot going on which we really need to talk about before I go into the box. So first of all, I'm going to take this picture off and start with this one. And you must be thinking to yourself, John, what's going on here? This isn't Italeri, this is Revell. Well, the thing is, it all started with the Revell kit because, and I'm not 100% certain on this, but I'm pretty sure that the Revell Saab JAS 39 Gripen and the Italeri Saab JAS 39A Gripen was a joint venture between Revell and Italeri, because these kits were actually identical except in the decals. The instruction leaflets were obviously Revell and Italeri, but the actual steps and the method of construction and the way in which it's laid out, apart from the Revell and Italeri logos, is identical. The kit's plastic is identical. The models are the same. But the Revell kit was of the first prototype, and that was released in 1999, and the Italeri kit was of the second prototype, or it might have been the fourth prototype, I'm not sure now. We'll have a look in the instructions, we'll see. And also, it also portrayed Series 1 early development production aircraft for the Swedish Air Force. And that aircraft kit was released in 2000. So we have a joint venture, or an amalgamation if you like, of the two models by two different companies. Now, as 2000 lent to 2001, things started to get interesting because Revell released the air defence variant of the Gripen. It was still a Saab JAS 39A Gripen model, but they changed one of the sprues in the box to get rid of the old prototype armament fit and go for a more dedicated air defence armament fit, which consisted basically of lots and lots of missiles, medium range and short range, and some sort of conformal under fuselage fuel tank. But the first sprue, which housed the lower wing and the majority of the other parts related to the airframe, was the same. And 2001 was a very busy year for this particular kit. So you had Revell releasing the ADV aircraft, and then you had Airfix also releasing the Revell's ADV aircraft. This kit is not an Airfix kit, it's actually a Revell kit. It's the Revell JAS 39A Gripen, that was the 1981 re-release that sort of went away from the original kit that Italeri and Revell originally released. Airfix released this kit in 2001, and they also released it as one part in a 7 aircraft set of the history of the Swedish Air Force, going from the late 1920s with the Bristol Bulldog there, through World War II and into post-war. There's even a helicopter in the set, and then up to present day with the Viggen and the Saab Gripen. This particular set is incredibly rare, and if you do find one, it's actually quite a nice set to build because all of the kits aren't actually that bad. The Bulldog is an excellent rendition. The Mustang was their second generation revamp of the Mustang fighter. The NF30 Swedish Mosquito is actually based on the FB Mark 6 second generation release Series 3 kit, which also builds up into the Mark 18, but the NF30 has specific parts. The first generation release Airfix Draken, yeah, it wasn't superlative, but it was satisfactory, it was alright. And the Boeing BV-107 Vertol, that wasn't bad for the year it was released either. It's a bit heavy and it's a bit basic inside, but it's not a bad kit. The Viggen and the Gripen are certainly very good models, both of them. So if you can get hold of this kit, I would say it would probably retail, it's worth £30 odd. If you can get it, it's a nice rendition to a collection. Then in 2001, again, staying with 2001, we had Italieri's Breakaway as well. And Italieri released the two-seat model of the JAS39. This is in the B variant. This kit had totally new sprues to incorporate the two-seat fuselage, because the fuselage halves, one is on sprue A and one is on sprue B, and they were totally different. So the sprues had to be revamped and remoulded, and new jigs had to be made to make this kit. But it is, again, an excellent rendition of the two-seat Gripen fighter, which coincides with the single-seat one that was released in 2000, the year before. Then, yes, Tamiya. If you buy a Tamiya JAS39A Gripen, it's not. This is the Italieri release 2000 issue with the more suited to the multi-mode, multi-role Gripen fighter, as opposed to the ADV variants. Most of its armament fits are for self-defense and ground attack. So again, the Gripen from Tamiya is the Italieri kit. Then in 2005, Beileg started to build the second generation Gripen. But don't get carried away, lads. It's the Revell kit. The Revell kit with the ADV fit was reboxed by Beileg, and it has new decals and possibly a couple of extra additional parts in the sprue. I haven't seen this kit personally, but it does seem to have different armament fits to the original Revell kit. But it was the first stab in the dark at building a Foreign Air Force service Gripen. Then in 2007, Italieri re-released the original 008 JAS39A Gripen by reboxing it. This kit is just the original 2000 release in a new box. Italieri again did one better by producing a 2011 release, this time with Tiger Meat decals, but again it's really just the original JAS39A Gripen, but with Tiger Meat markings. There's no change in the kit's build-up or anything. It's still the multi-mode mission model. Then you have what, in my opinion, is probably the best Gripen kit that's ever been produced. The Revell 2014 release single-seat JAS39C. This is it's a speculative version of what can possibly be made into a Gripen by any manufacturer. This kit has Tiger Meat markings for the year of release 2014. The decals are absolutely superb, but this aircraft is not a Swedish plane, as you can see. It's Czech. It's Czechoslovakian aircraft. So I do believe it has Swedish markings inside the box, and up to the usual Revell standards, the decals will be excellent. But this kit is the first attempt at building what can only be achieved by Revell, and sorry, not only, it was achieved by Revell to produce a model that was as accurate as they could possibly produce. The fuselage itself is actually made up in two completely separate halves, the forward section and the rear section. And this mode of modelling the Gripen enabled them to release the 2016 release two-seat version, the JAS39D. And it's the same kit as the JAS39C, but it has the sprues to incorporate the two-seat forward fuselage, making the JAS39D. So there you have the history, the Revell chain and the Italieri chain. The Italieri chain model has basically not changed since 2000, but the Revell kit, honestly, the new 2014 and 16 release models are fantastic. Right. I'm going to just change the camera view now, because I want to bring you down to the box and what's inside. something sold on eBay there, that's wonderful. Basically, this is the kit we're reviewing today, the JS39A Gripen 2000 release from Italeri. Its model number is 008 and it's in 1/72nd scale, and it is, as I said, the multi-mode armament fit version of the Gripen fighter from the mid to late 1990s and early 2000s. We'll just open the box here. The box is a bit bad. It's a second-hand kit. I bought this kit probably a couple of years ago now, and it's not sealed in bags, so I can't take it out of the bag for you. But I don't really think it matters because I'll put the box to one side, because this kit is basically still what you'd get if you bought the 2011 issue Gripen from Italeri. We'll go through the instruction leaflets first. The instruction leaflet is nicely clearly printed. It gives you the colour plans. This is for the development model. I'm pretty sure that is the second generation prototype that was used by the Swedish Air Force for evaluation. And this aircraft is from Flygvapnet, initial early series production evaluation aircraft. And there's also a second one of these. This is the one that's featured on the box artwork, and this is another pre-series early evaluation, if you like, a Mark 1 of the Gripen fighter. The paint plan is relatively well laid out, giving you the paint keys here to the colours. It's basically, this aircraft is basically dark sea grey and white underneath. This aircraft is dark sea grey overall with a white rear section to the underside. And this aircraft is the same as the other aircraft, but it has a black nose cone. We'll go into the actual instrument, the actual plans. The kit comes with a parts plan, which I always think is quite handy to have because it enables you to see if there's any parts missing and then contact the company. And Italeri is a company that's still running, so you shouldn't have any problem getting parts for this kit. But there will of course be the 2011 issue. The instructions come in 8, is it 8 or 7? Yeah, it's 8. They come in 8 steps. Basically the interior, which, yeah, although a bit basic, you know, it's not that bad when you consider it's a 1/72nd scale kit. It does give you an instrument panel, a joystick and a floor pan seat, and there's a few radio avionics at the back behind the pilot's ejection seat. And that all fits together on top of the underwheel, the nose wheel wheel well there, and then into the fuselage. And then you've got the wings assembly with the missile rails on the wingtips, and then the wing assembly joins to the fuselage, and then step 4 you've got the forward canards, the air intakes, air brakes and whatnot. And then section 5 is the undercarriage, and section 6 leads you to some of the armament fits and wheel well doors. And then in section 7 you actually build all the armament that go on the rest of the stations, and section 8 is to fit them with the pedometer there. So the instructions are lovely and clearly illustrated. They're actually beautifully illustrated. They're quite nice renditions of the model as you progress its build, and I like the way in which they've arrowed all the parts to their location holes, so there is very little room for error. I like the way they've done the instructions, and Italeri, top marks for Italeri, they're producing those very good. The decals. This is the decal sheet you get in the 2000 release. They're a nice set of decals. They're nice, crisp, they're quite light, they're very thin, brightly coloured. The register is fantastic. Italeri give you markings that are this quality all the time, as do the other 3 big companies, Airfix, Revell and Tamiya. Their decals are superb, and these are no exception. You have the markings for the 3 different options there. These are all common to all 3. They're the speculative markings for the two frontline service aircraft, and that's the second prototype markings for that aircraft. You notice that it has different air intake flashes warning of the induction of air into the forward air intakes in the production aircraft. I'm not sure quite why that was, but they obviously felt the need to change them. Also, you've got low and high vis Swedish markings, which also is quite nice. The parts will go first with the transparency. This is always something of, I always find this is something of very big interest to modelers, is what the transparencies are like. Artillery transparencies, if you can see that there. The transparency is nice, it's clear, it's crisp, it's thin, and there's not a huge amount of distortion there. That's the rear cockpit, which is great because it means you can actually have the canopy in the closed or the open position if you want. You can have the canopy open to super detail the cockpit if you wish, or just leave it as is. I often find it's nice to have the cockpits open because it gives people more to look at in the kit. But the transparencies are actually very, very good. There are three loose parts in this model: the lower wing midsection and the two fuselage halves. Obviously, the person who had this kit before me decided to take them off the sprues and test fit. It's not something I would recommend to do. We'll first deal with the sprue that seems to be current in virtually every Series 1 first generation Gripen model that you can get on the market up until the 2014 release. This sprue is found in every single kit. It incorporates the lower mid-wing half, which would fit here on two sections that have obviously been removed by the previous owner, and this fin, which would have gone there, I believe. The sprues are made up of light plastic, light grey plastic. They're quite light in texture, which I really like. The detailing is really nice, really crisp. The jet pipe there is really nicely detailed. The wheels are nice, they're clear. The wheel well is also quite nice. There's a couple of injection mould marks there, which is a bit, that's not very good. They should have been on that side, artillery, away. But the other parts of the model are actually, all the injection moulding parts are actually on the inside, which is great. Yeah, that should work out okay. The plastic is also what I call soft plastic. You get three different types of plastic in plastic modelling. You get soft plastic like this, which is quite pliable. You get a lot of models, a lot of the models made by Airfix during the 90s were actually made in India, and their plastic is, for want of a better way of putting it, it's bloody awful. It was brittle, it was grainy, its consistency wasn't great. But then Airfix changed the company ownership, and when Hornby bought Humbrol Heller and Airfix Group, they changed every aspect of the Airfix kit itself, so that you ended up with a really good product. The fuselage halves, they fit together here. The fin is a one-piece fin, which I always like. I've always liked the idea that it's a one-piece fin. The avionics aerials on the top of the spine there are also one-piece, led from the port side of the wing, port side of the fuselage, and the fit is actually quite good, contrary to a lot of other reviews I've seen on this model, where they believe that the fit on the aircraft is actually quite poor around the nose and around the back of the spine. But this one looks to be quite good, so I'll be quite happy with that. The wing itself, the undercarriage wheel wells there are quite nicely moulded, and the panels are engraved rather than broad panelled. There's no flash, there's no abnormalities in the plastic. It's a nice kit. I'm really looking forward to starting this model and getting it built. This is the sprue that changes between the Revell 2001 and the Italeri 2000 release. This sprue can be found in the Tamiya kit, but not in any of the others other than Italeri. It consists basically of this and this, which can be found all in the Revell model, but all of this is different in the Revell model because it's basically missiles. This is the multi-mission, multi-role version of the Gripen with different types of armament fits to fit under the wing pylons, and it even has a reconnaissance pod at the front here. They're nicely moulded. There's no flash anywhere on this kit. There is no flash on any of the parts. It's a beautifully cast, lovely piece of work. Top marks to Italeri. They've done a fabulous job. And as I said before, this kit is what you would find in the Tamiya model. It's exactly the same sprues. Now I'm not sure whether Tamiya purchased the rights to make a mould and build it out their own plastic, or whether Italeri just decided to send them the plastic to enable them to rebox it and redecal it. But it does come provided with different decals. I think they're Tamiya decals that are in the kit. So overall, I'll just read you the GUMF, which includes the technical data. Overall, the kit is produced by Italeri. It's the Saab JAS 39A Gripen, and it's built in 1/72nd scale. The release date is year 2000. The decals supplied are for a pre-series prototype and 2 current frontline early series planes serving the Svenska Flygvapnet. The kit is 7.5 inches long, 5 inches in span, and about 2.5 inches high, standing on its undercarriage. And it is what I call a Godfather kit. What I mean by Godfather kit is that it spawns lots of other companies' models, and the kit itself can be found reboxed, but it's the same kit that you get, whether it's Tamiya or Italeri, and if you go for the Revell line, whether it's Bylec, Airfix or Revell. As I said before, with some modelers' reviews on this kit, they have found that there's some bad fitting around the fuselage behind the canopy on some kits, and sometimes they've also found bad fits around the forward nose cone. The Revell 1999 and Italeri 2000 release kits are identical, but for the decals, which cover different prototypes. The Revell 2001 release has a new B sprue with different armament fits added, but the rest is just as before, and the Italeri kit has more of the multi-role armaments fit. The Revell is more of the ADV. All kits share one sprue up until 2014 Revell release. The 2001 Italeri released 2-seat model with different sprues incorporating the 2-seat fuselage, but that is the only change in the Italeri line. No other company produced the 2-seat Italeri, the 2-seat Gripen until the 2016 release from Revell. All the early models retail for about £10 to £15. The 2011 Italeri release kits retail for about £15 to £18, and the 2-seat models retail for between £20 and £25. Don't get me wrong, if you hold out for the price on some of these sites like eBay and Amazon, whatnot, you can sometimes get these kits cheaper, but that's about the average mean going rate. The 2014-2016 Revell releases are the best for frontline current planes, but the Italeri and early Revell kit releases are superb for first series frontline and prototypes. If modelling foreign Air Force planes, use the 2014-16 Revell kits, as they really are the only new tooling models. The others are all just reboxed early models with new decals or revised model sprues. Overall, the kit is, I've marked on my profile as it's a really good kit. In my impression, it's a superb model. It has excellent mouldings. They're very crisp, clear, lightly fine detailed, and the plastic is very workable. And overall, I think you'll have a lot of enjoyment building this kit. It builds up into a nice modern looking fighter, which the Gripen is, of course. And I think you'll have a lot of fun. So If you fancy a Gripen pre-series prototype or maybe an early production model, go for the Artillery one or the early release Revell, but the Artillery kit is really nice, and that's usually the one that is available cheaper than the Revell kit. Revell's kits, the early series, tend to be a little bit harder to get, but the Artillery ones, I like them, they're nice. And Artillery usually do a good product line anyway. So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the video, I hope it's been of some use, and I'll see you with the next one. Thank you very much.